Hello friend, welcome back. Today's video is hopefully gonna be really short. It is all about a very inexpensive upgrade to these lights that's gonna solve two very annoying problems. These lights are the Nanlite FS300Bs. Recently made a video about them, but I think they're the best budget lights for solo filmmakers out there. If you guys are interested in just hearing my thoughts more long form on these lights, why I have them in my kit, I encourage you to go check that out. But to get right to it, there are two very annoying things about these lights. The first is that the yoke actually attaches to the light and there are knobs on both sides. So if you're wanting to make an adjustment to the tilt of the light, you actually have to loosen both knobs. You might not think that would be annoying, but when your light is up, well above your head, reaching up and around to grab both knobs and make that adjustment is a lot more work than it needs to be compared to nicer lights on the market that have kind of a one handle design. The second annoying thing is that on the yoke where the knobs attach, there's actually geared teeth on these lights. And so micro adjustments are really hard because you're often trying to find the exact right, kind of teeth pattern where it clicks in. You can't make really small fine-tuned adjustments as easily on these lights. So I have owned and used these lights despite having these little quirks. Budget products always come with some type of trade-off. It's up to you to decide, if those trade-offs are worth the cost savings to you. For me, with these lights, they definitely are, but solving this issue with this video here today is definitely gonna make these lights even better. And before we get into the fix, I want to give credit where credit is due. This all started with a comment on that video from a channel called Ranger Studios. He mentioned adding a rubber washer to these lights allowed for those fine-tuned adjustments. And in addition, I was actually looking at my much more expensive Forza 500 light, and I was looking at the ratcheting handle design and how they only use one handle, but there's a bolt on the other side. And I just kind of had the thought, maybe all these parts are interchangeable, and turns out you can order exactly what you need on Amazon to make this change yourself and take these lights from good to great. And so to make this change, we've got this light here on the table. We're gonna go ahead and take off these knobs. So go ahead and just remove them from both sides. There's a little metal washer. You're gonna wanna save that on both sides. So let's go ahead and take this off. And then you guys will see the yoke disconnects right there. Now that we have that removed, you guys will see this is the side for our rod holder. This side does not have one, so that is gonna determine which side we put our handle on. So first thing we're gonna need is just one of these ratcheting handles. I'm gonna link this below, the exact one, but it is a M6 by, I think, 25 millimeters. And this is gonna go on our rod side. And then in addition, we're gonna need one of these neoprene rubber washers. And again, linked below the exact size, but that is what it's gonna go right here. So you guys will see, we will go ahead and put our yoke back on. And then we actually need our metal washer from here as well. So start by putting that on your handle, and then you're gonna start putting it through the yoke, and then you're gonna wanna add the rubber washer in between. And as you guys will see, that tightens down great. Same thing on the other side. We're gonna take our little metal washer off, and then the other side, we actually just need this hex screw. Again, M6, 25 millimeters. I'll put a link down below. But exact same thing. We're also gonna grab a rubber washer. So start by feeding your little washer on. You can start feeding it through, and then you'll want to slide this rubber washer in between the yoke and the light, exact same as the other side. And you can kind of just shimmy it into place. And then you can go ahead and get this finger tight, but then eventually you'll have to switch to a tool. So you guys will see right there, it's just a hex bolt. We're just going to tighten this down, and we'll just get it snug for now. But you guys will see, now we can loosen this side, adjust our yoke, and then tighten it down. And now it is locked in place. So now we can adjust this light just on one side using this ratcheting handle. Simply loosen it. You can adjust the yoke and then tighten it down. Fixes our issue with having these on both sides. And then in addition, because we added the rubber washers, this allows us to make much more fine-tuned adjustments. I often am doing this with something like a projection attachment that attaches here on the front. If I'm just needing to, tilt it down ever so slightly and it's sort of in between those two teeth, now you're able to do that with these rubber washers. I will say, to determine how tight you should take this bolt is really going to depend on your modifier. So what I would suggest is put this light on a stand, grab your heaviest modifier, like a softbox for me, that's a 38 inch. I don't use one that's bigger than that, but go ahead and put that on your stand, and you're going to want to tighten this down with that on the stand with the modifier attached, and dial in how tight you need it to be where it's not going to sag on you. So you can go ahead and have this side snug, but then as you tighten this one, you want to get this tight enough where when you just loosen this side, you can freely move the light, but this side is snug enough where it's not going to slip on you. The total cost to make this change to all three of my lights was $28.31, which is just under about $10 a light. I think you could even do it cheaper if you wanted to try and source some of the parts at a local hardware store. I just wanted to give you guys links where you could easily order this stuff, and I'm not exactly sure if hardware stores would carry, the exact washer size you want and the bolt size, but do your own research. If you only have one light, it might be worth going to see if a hardware store can let you buy, just one bolt so you save even more money. Two tests that I wanted to run after making this upgrade to make sure it was going to work for my needs is the first, the rod holder. So you guys will see I actually have a rod mounted into this light. I am regularly using kind of these umbrella style modifiers as book lights. They're really easy. I needed that to still tighten down tight enough where this wasn't going to be slipping around, and to my delight, it worked. The rod is held in there very securely. You don't have to make any modification. The other one was just going to be testing kind of the slippage. So if you use a heavier modifier, like a softbox, mine is 38 inches, and you're starting to put a lot of weight, on the yoke. I was curious if the rubber washers would hold enough where, it's not going to be tipping down on you throughout your shoot. When I ran this test myself, I had no issues with slippage on my 38 inch softbox, but you may want to test for yourself if you're using a much larger modifier. You just want to make sure you're tightening it down enough so that, it is not going to tip down on you. The only main con I see with making this change is potentially over time, because I have not had enough time to stress test this in the field, because we're using rubber washers. As those heat up and cool down, you're using your lights in a hot environment, cold environment, you're constantly, clamping them down. I could see the rubber kind of deteriorating over time as it's not a super robust material. They seem thick enough to me where I'm hopefully not going to have to swap these out. But the good thing, the pack on Amazon came with 20. So if that does happen, 6 months, a year, 2 years down the line, I can just swap it out for a fresh washer. I already have them on hand. I did give it a try using plastic nylon washers. Those were my kind of original thought, as I figured they would bite, a lot more, they would be stronger than the rubber. But the main issue is because these lights have the teeth on both sides, the nylon washers were not gripping enough to pass that stress test with a heavy softbox on the front. If you're not using a heavy softbox on the front, you're just using these, just with the reflector dish or something like this umbrella, you might be able to get by with the nylons that are more durable, but in my testing, the rubber washers were the way to go. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you own these lights, or maybe you own a different set of lights that has a similar, two-handle design, just figure out what your screw size is, what ratcheting handles you need, and I think this fix could work for you. So let me know any questions you guys have down below, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.